Did you see the brewery wars?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we saw.
And Brewery Mon. And what did you think of it, Vincent?
Well, I could talk about it for an hour if you want me.
No, it's just 2 minutes.
2 minutes? That is about 10 years old. So the main character in the Dogfish, Sam, he's a multimillionaire right now. He pretty much leads the still independent breweries and tries to keep other ones independent. Although he recently had some private equity group come in and provided money. So some of these guys, the craft in the United States is that there's a movement that it's independent, family owned, and that's what drives a lot. It's very community oriented. What people don't know is some of these guys take huge amounts of money in order to facilitate their growth. Some of the main brands out there, people don't even know they're owned by ABI, Miller Coors, and so I mean it's somewhat of a cutthroat business.
All these businesses are cutthroat.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is that InBev now, which is Brazilian, 2 Brazilians came in and basically bought Anheuser Busch. And Anheuser Busch, because I have a couple guys on my board who work for Anheuser Busch. One guy they showed him August the 4th. Well, my guy on the board was August the 4th's right-hand man. So he knew what happened. He said when the Brazilians came in, they just basically fucked up the whole Anheuser Busch culture. And
Now, fucked it up by replacing it at all, or just changed the culture?
just changing the culture. It no longer was. He said, growing up, he grew up in St. Louis too. Is that people originally Anheuser Busch was you were very proud to go in there and to work for Anheuser Busch. When InBev came in and bought them, that whole culture just changed. And so he said a lot of the executives just left because it was no longer what it used to be. There was no pride in making beer for Anheuser Busch anymore. But Anheuser Busch, I mean, in Miller Coors, in the United States, SAB Miller and International, the craft markets took up 12%. So they showed 5%, it's up to 12%. Some parts in the US, it's up to 40%. So there's a small sector in the craft industry who says it's such a disruptive agent that it's going to destroy Anheuser Busch and Miller Coors worldwide. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen, but some sectors believe that it's such a disruptive, and it's so unique that it's disruptive. But Anheuser Busch and InBev and Miller Coors in the United States are fighting back. They basically start acquiring a lot of these breweries, and now they're putting a big marketing push to basically squash them.
The gist of the movie and the gist of everything from Andrew Carnegie to all the other ones you're going to see during the next few days is that almost always they disrupt everything. Contrary to what you say. Our intention is to do such and such. Our intention is to not fire one fucking lazy Mexican. You know? But that's the first thing I'm going to do. Okay? My intention is not to do this. That's what everybody says since time began. Of course, everybody knows that now. Back in the 80s, people still believed it. The French came in and they normally they sit a guy across, right? I mean, literally. Here's Ed, here's the Frenchman, looking right at him, every fucking thing he does. And then he reports back to his bosses how long it takes him to know everything you know. A week, a month, a year, and then you're gone. Japanese, same. Korean, same. Almost everybody's the same. Contrary to what, but I mean, they sit like right here. And what is that? What did you just remark? And that's what they do. And some of the cultures, my experience with Japanese is they really assimilate what you do quickly. So that begs the question, well, just how much work are you really doing? If a goddamn Japanese guy or a Korean guy or a Frenchman can figure out what you're doing in 2 weeks. But I've got a whole theory. I can give a month seminar on my disbelief of legacy knowledge for employees. We keep grade because he's been here 11 years and he knows all this shit. So, I mean, it would be too disruptive to get rid of the little French cunt. Bullshit! I bring in a fucking Japanese guy, he knows his job in maybe a day. That's an exaggeration. But certainly, he's not irreplaceable. One of the things that I tell you about QLA is nobody can be irreplaceable. I mean, everybody has got to be replaced, including you. And as I pointed out, private equity figures that out quicker than you do. The easiest one to replace is you. Okay? Because you have no legacy information. Joe, because he's a real doctor, a medical doctor, you know, and depending on, you know, the kind of doctor you are. But if you're just a GP, general practitioner, fuck, out the door. I mean, we get GPs a dime a dozen. Okay? And so depending on the pecking order. So, but all these are going to be the same story. All of them are going to be the same story. And virtually all the great companies are a product of a roll-up. They didn't call them roll-ups then. They didn't call them consolidation then. They just called them, you know, buying additional companies that are hopefully strategically aligned with you. Because remember, structure follows strategy. Unfortunately, most mergers fail, AOL being the prime example from 15, 20 years ago, because the cultures fail. The cultures fail. So that's why it's all that more important that you keep one of the owners, at least one of the owners, on board, and as many of the key executives as possible for some period of time. My experience, it's not the key executives that make or break your business, whether you keep them on or not. It's the grunts, the guys in the ditches, the guys that are, you know, mixing whatever you mix to make beer or whatever. Those are the guys and gals that actually know what's going on. The lady that's in charge of the night shift of the emergency room, you know, she's more important than the doctors. You can get emergency doctors left, right, and center. But she's been there 15 years. She understands. She knows starting at 10:45 on a Friday, Saturday night, everybody's out drunk, fights, people are going to be coming into the ER, etc. She knows all that. And she knows when the kids should take their breaks. Whereas the doctors, you know, the doctors don't know that. All you see in the movies is the doctors are like this, washing their hands like this, you know, and going into the OR, you know. But, and having been in the OR plenty of times, I'm looking at where are their hands, you know, where are their hands? Yeah, okay, that's the gist of that. But you're going to see that no matter what the industry is. Now, you're going to leave. I'm going to let you go after I answer some questions here, and then you're going to go to your breakout. You'll have your coffee break in your breakout rooms, and then lunch is 1 o'clock, not 1:45. We're not going to meet back again, and the after lunch you will go, and I will meet you here to answer any questions from the morning. And then you go out to your breakout room. You have your coffee there whenever it is. As I noticed all the rooms, they had coffee and stuff there when you sat down. And then we'll meet here again approximately 5. And if it's not 5, I'll let you know. But I'll be going around like I did yesterday to all the groups. Okay, any questions? And we're going to get around to the two Frenchmen have questions you want to ask me. Secretly, but we are going to answer them as a group. But are there any questions, general type questions, or they can be specific, they don't have to be general, questions that you want to ask me before we let you go into your individual groups? Okay, now, you roll through the cases, but don't roll through the cases. If you do to get done, don't do the business, the Stanford, Harvard, don't do those cases until later on. Because even though a lot of you have rolled through the cases, a number of the cases, 3 or 4, based on the information that you saw yesterday and how the information was presented, and the conclusions your conclusion may or may not be the same. Just because you came to a conclusion based on the information that you thought you understood, and that may or may not have changed based on what you've seen the other guys present and based on what input I've given you. And the important part of the case is you going through it, but the more important part of the case is when we discuss it, because there's a lot of questions that come up, not only from your own team, but from the other teams that are watching what you do and trying to understand what you do. And because we have several people that are in the same generic space, not just healthcare, but I mean drilling down on healthcare, you're going to have the opportunity to add to your database internally. Now, 2 questions that I'm going to answer, not now, but when we get back together again, one of which was about 2 Dream Team candidates that you asked about. And another one, we're going to discuss an internal, I don't know if we call it a policy shift, but I don't like to pat myself on the back too much or blow smoke up my own ass. I get that enough from other people, but we're going to walk through the stages of how the chairman foresaw this coming in the U because he was hoped that it didn't happen, and now it's happened. And when I tell you on your weekly reports, it's a red flag, or I just put NXT, meaning next. And I don't give you a big fucking explanation. Just next. Because there's a high probability, if not absolute certainty, that this is going to happen. Either whether it's concerning a law firm in their engagement letter that they send you, or the accounting firm in the engagement letter that they send you, or a board member that is not exhibiting enough enthusiasm. And by the way, we have people that do deals. I know you're all hot on LOIs. I know you're all hot on engagement letters. 3/4 of the people on that fucking wall wouldn't know an LOI if it bit him in the dick. We have people on that motherfucking wall. This is a Trump exaggeration. I believe never had an engagement letter with their lawyers. Never had an engagement letter with their accountants. How is that possible? I do not understand. What could have happened? Why is that so? I believe with all my heart that you search for these fucking letters because it forestalls pulling the motherfucking trigger. That's what this 71-year-old man thinks. And the longer you finger fuck with the engagement letters, the less you have to do pulling the trigger and making a deal. And if you're really lucky and you got no balls and you don't want to admit it, the deal will collapse over the engagement letter and you never have to do anything. Ain't that terrific? That's what I think. Based on over 1,000 deals that I've been in and 29 billions in deals myself, not counting the 50 billions for the dipshits up there.
So how are they closing deals then? They're just basically relationships. And not putting shit in paper.
They shake hands, Jake. Let's get the motherfucker done. Let's do this fucker. Now, I used to say, back in 1993, and I'm sorry, Allah forgive me, let's go fuck that bitch. But I don't do that anymore. Because that's taken the wrong way. It's taken the wrong way. I don't mean it that way. I like Donald Trump. I respect women. And I want to know how come guys like me that have been raped by women, I fought them out the best I could, but they overcame me. We'll leave it on that note. And it's true. I'm not bullshitting. Sally said nobody will believe you that your father tried to fight him off.